तो एक बार फिर से स्वागत है ब्रेक के बाद आपका। और आज आप देख रहे हैं सबसे बड़ी कवरेज। मूडीज ने बाजार का मूड सुधार दिया है और इस रेटिंग्स अपग्रेड पर बातचीत करने के लिए हमारे साथ आज दिन भर कई मेहमान जुड़ने वाले हैं। हमारी कवरेज लगातार नॉन स्टॉप इस पर जारी है। हमारे साथ अब एक बहुत ही खास मेहमान इस समय सीधे जुड़ रहे हैं और हमारे साथ प्राइम मिनिस्टर इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजरी काउंसिल के बिबेक देब्रॉय जी जुड़ रहे हैं। उनसे बात करते हैं। मिस्टर देब्रॉय, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया है आपका। स्वागत हमारे साथ जी बिजनेस पर इस बातचीत में शामिल होने के लिए। थैंक यू सो मच। नाउ आई डोंट थिंक द टाइमिंग कुड हैव बीन एनी बेटर। जो मूडीज की तरफ से अपग्रेड आया है, पीएसयू बैंक्स का रिकैपिटलाइजेशन अनाउंस हुआ एंड नाउ इट इज बीइंग फॉलोड बाय मूडीज रेटिंग अपग्रेड। क्या कहेंगे आप?
I think this is something that should have been happened earlier. After all, the reforms were known, the government's plan for reforms were known. I will welcome it, but I will also say that this is belated recognition on the part of Moody's.
But I mean, then what would you say about S&P, which still is stuck with India's so-called fiscal deficit problem, and even today they sort of lived in denial?
Well, they will also sooner or later recognize what has been happening.
But sir, now I mean, this is actually
Let me also add this.
Yeah, please.
Let me add this that it is not as if the international rating agencies are unbiased. They have a bias against developing countries, which has been documented. There is a bias in favor of developed countries, which has also been documented.
No, that I agree, and we have seen the track record of agencies like S&P, but let's not go there. We all knew what they were doing and what kind of ratings they had.
Let's not go down that road.
2008. But we did speak to Moody's in the morning, and they were very appreciative of the fact that the reforms are actually happening at a very clipping pace, and this is going to actually impact the bottom line GDP also. So they were very confident that at some point GDP will start clocking above 7.5, maybe close to 8%, and maybe even higher than that. But obviously there is no time frame to that. What is your assessment currently looking at the situation?
Well, firstly, one says GDP, but what one means is GVA.
Yeah.
And it is important to make that distinction. What I think will happen is, incrementally you will see an improvement in the growth rate. If one is talking, there's plenty of slack within the system, but if you are talking about spectacularly high rates of growth, that is conditional on global growth recovery. There are some signs of that. So I would say that if there is no clear timeline, I would say that in the next couple of years, one is talking about growth inching up from 6.5 to 7, and then perhaps to about 7.5.
Right. Now, sir, also, I mean, one of the biggest factor which has played its role maybe in this ratings upgrade is the PSU banks recapitalization, because Moody's has said it so in the release also. And there were concerns obviously about this whole NPA mess as far as PSU banks are concerned, and then how they will come out of it. The NCLT mechanism was not really working out in a very exciting way. But can we confidently say now after this upgrade that the NPA problem as far as PSU banks are concerned is firmly behind us, and from here things may actually look upward only for PSU banks? What is your assessment?
Well, it's sort of halfway between what you said, in the following sense, that there's a difference between preventing the creation of new NPAs and taking care of the stock of existing NPAs. Now, existing NPAs, it is not as simple as recapitalization, because no government has the kind of money that is required to completely wipe out all the NPAs, even if one assumes that were necessary. As the finance minister and the finance ministry have repeatedly said, this recapitalization is not going to be uniformly spread across banks, nor is it going to be delinked from a restructuring of public sector banks. So this is going to be part of a package. And I think we should wait for this package to be announced and implemented. In other words, we are not talking about an overnight resolution. I would say it will take a couple of years, perhaps 3 years, for this problem to be firmly behind us.
Now, can we expect post this ratings upgrade, since in the long term, the fundraising becomes easier internationally for companies also and for banks also? And I mean, obviously, the kind of boost and the kind of thumbs up that markets have given today to this whole event, can we expect that soon this ratings upgrade will also trigger the much awaited private capex, the jobs creation cycle, and then obviously effectively the economic wheel starts moving much faster in that direction?
One should not give importance to this rating upgrade more than it deserves. Now, what I mean by that is domestic investors and even foreign direct investors already know what is happening, already know about the reforms. I'm not dismissing the importance of the upgrade. The upgrade is important, A, for institutional investments, and B, for companies which wish to raise capital abroad. Yes, because it makes the costs of capital lower for them. Having said that, investments is a little bit, private investments is a little bit difficult to generalize on because there's still excess capacity in some sectors. Infrastructure is linked to the stressed assets problem that we already talked about. But the simple line, I think, is that give it at best another couple of quarters, perhaps 1 quarter, and when one will begin to see the improvement of private investments, at least in some sectors and segments.
In fact, that you have partially answered my next question, sir, but that was my next question, that looking at the way corporate performance is shaping up, we are in the actually middle of the earnings season as well. Can you see those green shoots of economy or green shoots of recovery in those pockets of economy where we were witnessing problem for past maybe 4 to 5 years? Can you see that?
Yes, but as I said, it depends on the sector. I did not answer your question about jobs and employment. The only thing I'd say there is hard data on jobs and employment is very difficult to get. The last reliable data we have, unfortunately, is still from 2011-12. We will not have the next round of firm hard data till the second half of 2018. If one is making a point that the quality of data on this should be better, of course that's a valid point, and that hopefully NSS will begin to address in 2018. Having said that, it is not just about the number of jobs, it is also about the quality of employment, and which is linked to the question of skills or lack of skills. It is also linked to the fact that some of the emphasis of this government is on self-employment. So when one is talking about jobs, one should not only look at it from an employer-employee kind of relationship, one should also look at what has happened to self-employment.
Absolutely right. I agree with you. Now, sir, which will be the next set of critical reforms? Because whichever foreign analysts we spoke to since today morning and also Moody's, they were hopeful that the pace of reforms would continue, in fact pick up, and obviously if the crude remains in check, then India would also pay attention to keeping fiscal deficit targets on track. What is your take?
Well, the finance minister and the prime minister have both indicated on more than one occasion that there will be no deviation from the path of fiscal consolidation, which Moody's actually also recognizes. Now, reforms are a continual incremental process. We have witnessed several reforms and we will continue to witness those reforms. What those reforms will be, one has to simply wait.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on the show with us on a very special day. And congratulations, because your views matter a lot. And this is a moment of pride for India. 13 years, the gap was 13 years, जिसके बाद फाइनली रेटिंग्स अपग्रेड आई है. तो इसी के साथ हम आज हमारी इस खास पेशकश को भी यहीं ख़त्म करते हैं. लेकिन